Hello, today is April the 14th in 2022. My name is Lisa Villegas and I'm interviewing you, Trisha Ortiz, for the University Special Collections and Archives at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, hereafter abbreviated as UTRGV. This project is a partnership with the Voices of Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Ms. Ortiz, that this entry will be placed at the university library's special collections and archives at UTRGV and shared with the Voices Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk, I will honor your wishes also. If there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. The University Library Special Collections and Archives will archive your interview along with any other photography and other documents you're willing to share. UTRGV University Library will retain copyrights or non-exclusive rights to the interview and any other materials you donate to Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you. I need to record you consenting to make sure you agree with our interview procedures before we continue. So I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each question. Number 1, do you give University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV consent to archive your interview and other materials at the UTRGV University Library?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Number 2, do you grant UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives rights, titles, and interest in copyright over the interview and other materials you provided?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Number 3, do you agree to allow UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Number 4, do you grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voices Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices Pandemic of Oral History mini project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
Do you want to ask that again?
Yeah, okay. Give me a second.
Sorry.
Okay. Number 4, do you grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voices Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices of a Pandemic Oral History mini project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. As you recall, we previously filled our pre-interview forms. We have information from the pre-interview forms to help research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voices server at the University of Texas at Austin. Before Voices send it to UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives, we will strip out any contact information for yourself or family members so that will not be part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at UTRGV Library University. The final 2 questions ask for your consent on what I just described. Number 5, do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Number 6, on occasion, UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and Voices receive requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone number or email with journalists?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your consent. Your experience and stories mean a lot to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives. I look forward to what you have to say in the interview questions I will now ask. Okay, so Ms. Ortiz, thank you so much for your time. Like I said earlier, your stories and experiences are valuable to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives, to our partners at the Voices Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. You're a college student during a time where there are some changes regarding the way students are being taught today. With an increase in remote learning, moreover, you are a nursing student, so your view on the pandemic impacting on nursing students is appreciated. Additionally, you have family members who work in healthcare, so I know you have many meaningful stories and experience to share on how COVID-19 has impacted your roles and perspectives. So before we talk about COVID-19 stories, can you please share with us a bit about yourself? Who are you and how you wish to be known? Who is Trisha Ortiz?
Okay, well, I'm Trisha Ortiz. I'm currently 20 years old. I am from Roma, Texas. I'm currently a student here at Texas A&M International University. I am a nursing student. Um, I believe that I am a very positive person. I do like helping others, and I enjoy partaking my time doing community. Um, and I wish to be known as a very intuitive, helpful person. I feel like that's something that I feel like is my purpose, not just because, I'm a nursing major. I know it's kind of like what the basics that everybody says, but I do want to be known as a helpful person, somebody that you can rely on and trust. And I just want to, help anybody who cannot help themselves. So yeah.
That's very amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, so first, I want to ask you some questions about your understanding with COVID. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question I want to ask you is, can you share something memorable, a memorable story about how you first heard or learned about COVID-19, whether it be radio, TV, social media, anything?
So actually, the first time I ever really heard of COVID-19 was my freshman year of college. It was the spring semester. I remember I was in my English class, and there was we were about to go on to spring break, and there was a lot of talk on, oh, we might get another week, or COVID-19, like it's becoming like a real thing. And I remember one of my classmates at the time actually went to go speak to my professor and ask him how the class would proceed if COVID-19 would, hit America.
Mhm.
And it was funny to me because, he responded literally, he was just like, that's not going to happen. That's not real. It's not a real thing. It won't affect us. And literally a week later, like, what do you know? The school got shut down because of it. So I feel like it was a very memorable moment to me because I personally also was kind of feeling the same way as my professor. I really thought, you know, it's just a hoax, it's nothing serious, or, um, I don't think anything big is gonna happen. And this was my first wake up call to, oh, this is real, like this is happening. So I feel like that's a memorable moment for me because it was pretty shocking, and it was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, of course, everything was happening, and it was it was a big shock to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Um, at what point did you realize this pandemic was a serious life-altering event? When did you when did you realize it was like, oh, okay, this is getting serious?
It was, I think, actually after that whole situation happened where the school got shut down, because I had never experienced anything like that. Schools were getting shut down, stores were getting shut down as well. I had to move out of my dorm, I had to move back home. Um, People were just getting sick left and right. And especially since my father, he works in the healthcare field, um, just hearing the stories that he would tell us of how sick and how many deaths were occurring, it was truly, it was saddening. And I feel like that's where, it really like became, like I said, an eye opener to me. And that's where I started feeling like this is real. It's not fake. It's real.
It's happening. That's
Yeah.
um. Do you remember what it was like for you during the stay-at-home orders in 2022? Do you have any stories from this time you could tell?
Actually, I remember it was a very tough moment that happened with my family because we actually got COVID. It was the very first time that we became infected. And like I said, a part of me actually was expecting it because, like I said, my father works in the healthcare field. So it was kind of a hard situation. But it was very tough because he came home one day and he just started feeling sick. He had a fever, he couldn't breathe. Um, and he went and got checked and he came out positive for COVID. And that to me, I was super worried because I didn't know much about the virus. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know anything. So um after that, you know, we were all in the same household. So after that, I got it, my mother got it. And this is truly something that I will never wish on anybody because it was to the point where I seriously contemplated if I was going to make it out alive. I couldn't even stand up out of my own bed without feeling lightheaded. I would lay down and I felt like, I was like my body, I was floating. I was just, I wasn't there. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't smell. I couldn't taste anything. And I know it may not seem like a lot, but not having those senses really, really messes with you. And I was worried because my mother and my father are older. So at that point I really didn't care about my health. I cared about them. And I was just really worried because they had a lot of underlying conditions, and I was truly afraid for what was going to happen, what, like, if we were going to be able to make it, because like I said, there were so many deaths happening. And I feel like, thankfully, we did recover, and we recovered as a family, and we went through it as a family as well. It was just a very, very tough moment for me because it was the first time in my life where I questioned if I was going to make it. If I, if it sounds ridiculous, but I was questioning everything at the moment. I was questioning, is this it for me? Am I gonna be able to see the next day? Am I gonna have a family? Am I gonna grow? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I feel like when you're there and you're in the moment, you really do start thinking about these things. And I feel like that was a very, very tough situation, a tough moment that I faced with my family.
Definitely, it must have been terrifying. We knew so little about it then, and having it being, since your dad does work as a healthcare provider, as a healthcare personnel, it must have been so frightening. It's not ridiculous because we didn't know nothing. You didn't know what was going to happen, and all these stories that you were hearing was very tragic stories. Speaking of the disease, can you share with me what was your understanding of COVID? Like, from the first time that you got it to now, how did you start learning little by little? How was that, like, learning process of learning what it was actually, what COVID actually was?
I honestly, in the beginning, I didn't pay attention to COVID.
Yeah.
I, if I'm not, if I'm being completely honest, I was selfish. I didn't think it concerned me until, it actually happened to me. As I was selfish, and I should have never thought of it that way. But actually getting COVID, that's where you start building an understanding to what it really is, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it consisted of. I didn't know that it was of a deadly disease. People were making it sound like, oh, it's just a cold, it's nothing. Like, there's a 99% survival rate. But reality is, it's not just a cold. It's not. I feel like a person will never know what COVID is until you get it, when you can't breathe, when you're struggling to take even one breath. And I feel like that's something as humans we take advantage of, the fact that we are able to breathe, we're able to smell and taste, and we're able to function and stand on our own 2 feet. I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't really appreciate. So slowly, I started doing my own research, and it was after we recovered from COVID, after me and my family recovered, I started uh, doing more research about it. I started seeing percentages, and I'm not the type of person to go really into it. Like, I started watching the news more as well, and I was never the person to do that. But watching the news, it actually is very interesting, and it will inform you on what's going on in the world. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to not paying attention to the news, but you'd be surprised at, how much you could actually learn from it. So I started just learning the symptoms, how to prevent yourself, how to be more safe, how to be more sanitary, because this was anything but a cold.
Yeah, I completely. Would you say that your intake in news sources and websites and social media regarding COVID increased during this time after you had COVID? How much would you say increased?
It really increased from literally 0% to like 80, if I'm being completely honest. Because like I said, I was never the person to pay attention to the news or social media, because I always thought that everything was a hoax, and that I was just like, no, it's just fake news, it's not real, it's not real. But like I said, once you're in that situation, it's
Change.
real. It's real.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being so honest with me. I really appreciate it. Uh, do you feel like your family has the same beliefs as you about COVID, or are they some members who take it more seriously or others more lightly? And if so, how so?
I believe my parents take it more seriously, and they do have the same beliefs as me, because I think that is a very serious situation. And it just goes back to me saying how I never really believed until it happened to me.
Mhm.
But I believe that after that, my parents also kind of got I opened, if I'm being completely honest, because they were like me as well. They didn't believe it. They were like, oh, like, COVID, like, it's not a big deal. But afterwards, we started being more sanitary. We wouldn't leave the house at all. The only one that would leave was my dad, because he had to work. He was out there with COVID patients, and there was a huge shortage in my city. Huge. My town is really, really small, and we only have one hospital. It's not the biggest either. So it was really, really hard. And he would work so hard, like long nights. He wouldn't sleep sometimes. So as he was being in contact with these patients, he became even more aware, more sanitary, more safe. Me and my family, my mom, my brother, myself, we would not leave the house unless we really, really needed to. But majority, it was just my dad. So I would say that we became super, super cautious on every.
Must have been such a change and such a learning curve to have to learn how to take so many precautions to take care of yourself and your family during such a hard time. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, did you get a vaccine and any follow-up booster shots?
I have not,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not because I do not want to. It's just because, if I'm being completely honest, I haven't made the time for it, which is I know it's a very controversial thing to say. It's, probably selfish of me, but I do plan on getting vaccinated. I do. It's just that at the time, I think I'm still doing more research on it.
Of course, and it's completely understandable. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Um, now I would like to ask you about your family. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. For background, can you share with me generally how many people are in your household, like in your house, in your immediate family, and your household?
Including myself,
Yes, please.
it is 4.
Sure. Um, did you? How did you and your family feel when you went off to college before the pandemic?
before the pandemic, my my family was proud of me. You know, they were very supportive. They were happy to see me take this new step in my life. And especially since I had been in my small town my entire life, coming to a bigger city was a big step for me. Um, they, however, you know, they did miss me, my mom especially, because me and my mom are super close. She's like my best friend, and we were just so used to being there with each other all the time. So it was something to get adapted to. And myself as well, I was so used to being at home with my family. And I was not used to this change, but I knew that it was going to be for the better and for my future. So before the pandemic, I would say that my family was very happy and supportive, and they were just excited to see me grow as a person. And I was excited as well. So,
That's amazing. I mean, you were going taking a new step, stepping out into life.
yeah.
um, how did you feel about going back home for the stay-at-home orders in March 2020, sorry, and the fall 2020 semester?
I was honestly, I was bummed out because I have always been the type of person to stay in my own shell, to not really go out there and see my options and just be involved. And that's something that I told myself I wanted to do when I entered college. I wanted to be out there, I wanted to be involved, I wanted to give back to my community. And I feel like I was barely about to, you know, get into organizations and start community hours and everything. And it was just like a boom, like a hit to the face, like you have to go home. So it was like I was barely getting to the good part, and I couldn't experience that. And I do feel like COVID did take away a lot from my college experience. I feel like I'm currently a junior in college, but I feel like, you know, I still hadn't experienced much at the time. And I feel like there was so much more that I could do back then, compared to now. Because if I'm being honest, classes get harder, and you know, our schedules, we get busier, and we have, as a college student, I personally have to deal with time management. And back then it was like, oh, I'm barely getting the feel of things, I had more time to do things. So I felt like I could have done more back then, and it was truly a bummer to me to go back home. Don't get me wrong, I love being home and I love being with my family. But like I said, this was a new chapter in my life that I was ready to experience. And I had to put a pause on it because of the pandemic. So it was truly, I was bummed, if I'm not being, if I'm
Of,
being honest.
of course, it's completely understandable. You were just starting to get out of your bubble and experiencing things, and everything just, you have to go back home. You
Yeah.
have to move right back. Did it feel strange to see your dorm mates packing up to return home and
It
after decorating, getting used to each other?
It did. It really did, because I feel like both of us, we were getting used to being independent. We were getting used to being on our own. You know, we were literally 18 years old. And, you know, all of this was new to us. We were so used to having our families and our parents, you know, doing most things for us and helping us and guiding us. And I feel like we were getting used to being independent and looking out for ourselves and each other, and just being there, having our own space, our own freedom. So packing up and seeing that empty dorm, it really, I was afraid. I was afraid because I didn't know if I was ever gonna come back to this. I didn't know how long this was gonna last, and I was just contemplating everything. I was like, what if this is it? What if, you know, I can never come back? What if I can never feel that independence again? What if I can't do things for myself? I can't have my own freedom. It was just a bunch of what ifs. And I feel like the same for my roommate at the time, just seeing our empty rooms and just reminiscing on the memories that we had made there. It it was hard. It was hard. And I feel like we were both just questioning everything.
Of course, it must have been so hard seeing someone that you just getting used to pack up and leave.
Leave, yeah.
Um, what are some ways that you have to get accustomed to studying back at home? How did you and your family adapt to having such a full house again?
So I felt really bad for my parents because I'm the type of person that when I am going to study, I need complete silence. I cannot hear chit chat. I can't even have music, like, which is a very common thing, but I need silence because I need to be in the zone. And I feel like my parents are very loud. I have a loud family. So it was very hard trying to tell them like, hey, I'm gonna take an exam or I'm gonna study, or I'm taking a quiz. You guys need to be quiet for 20 minutes to an hour. Um, and it would get hard because I feel like in a Hispanic household, if anybody can relate, sometimes it doesn't go as planned, so it would come to the point where I had to study outside my house or even in my car sometimes to try and just get that peace. It was very hard for me because I was used to being in my dorm in silence, like nobody would bother me, nobody would come in or make noise. So it was truly hard for me to focus. But I feel like slowly my parents had to adapt to it, and they did eventually. It was just kind of hard getting there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, having to get used to someone all over again, especially with these new things, like you have to study now and you have to learn something during
Yeah,
online, which is hard.
yeah, it is.
um, how did your family take extra precautions, like if any, during the peak wave of 19 COVID-19? Sorry, since your dad is a paramedic.
So, like I said, we wouldn't leave the house. I would say unless we really needed to. But if I'm being completely honest, the only one that would go out was my father. Like for grocery shopping or anything, it would be him because he didn't want us to be at risk. It was a very noble thing of him because he would rather, it be him, if I'm being completely honest. He would rather it be him than us, if anything. So he would go. Um, my dad, when he would come back from work, he would leave his work clothes at work and he would change, and then he would come in with a mask, and immediately he would go straight to shower. He wouldn't say hi to anybody. He would just go straight to shower. He would not speak to you unless he was already showered. We would disinfect our house like every maybe 5 hours, I would say. We would disinfect everything. We would clean like crazy, have sanitizer at every corner. If we had to step out, we would use our masks, of course. And I would say, yeah, those are the main precautions that we took because it was not much to it. Well, there was a lot to it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't much that we added because, like I said, we wouldn't go anywhere. Um, we wouldn't have gatherings. We wouldn't speak to our other family members. So we were just literally in our own like bubble.
Speaking of that, how did you feel having to separate from your extended family, like your cousins, your aunts? How did you feel during this? Since you seem to be very close with your family.
Yeah. So I was very used to seeing my aunts and my cousins frequently because, we would have cookouts and birthday parties and all of that. So I was used to seeing them frequently. And I do feel, especially with my cousins, I do feel a special bond. I have this one cousin, her name is Alexis, and we have been together since, we were both born. We're like a year apart. But since we were kids, we have been super duper close. And we got closer when she moved over here to the valley because she lived in San Antonio and we wouldn't be able to see each other as much, but we would always FaceTime or text. And it was really hard because, I was used to seeing her and just like being happy and even like just spending family time. It felt nice to have a special bonding moment with your family, a cookout, to catch up with everybody because life can get crazy sometimes. So it was devastating, and I missed them and I missed her a lot. So we would text and FaceTime as much as we could, but it really did suck that we couldn't see each other, or I couldn't see my other family members.
Yeah, totally understandable, especially since you're so close to them. It must have hurt so much not being able to be close to them.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of celebrations and stuff, today have you started to lessen staying in at home and going out and celebrating? Have you started going?
If I'm being completely honest, it is hard for me to stay. I mean, I am living in an apartment on campus, and it's kind of hard for me to just stay here because simply I do have face-to-face classes, and I am part of a sorority. So we do frequently have events and community service hours. So compared to back in the beginning of the pandemic, I do feel like I am a very productive person and I do go out a lot, like physically, like out the door, because I do have a lot of things to do. I'm a very busy person. So if I'm being completely transparent with you, I am rarely in my room. Rarely. I am mostly out there. I'm doing events, or I'm studying, or I'm doing homework, or I have class. So I'm really all over the place, but I do go out more than I have from the past.
It seems like you're always busy. That's
Yes.
oh, you keep them busy. You're doing things.
Yeah,
You're
gives me
getting a college experience.
yeah.
That's good. Um, Now I would like to ask you about your education. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. Um, how did when the pandemic first spread in the United States in the early 2020, were you just getting used to college? How did that affect you? How did that affect you regarding academics? Like, did it affect you very, very much, or did you say not much?
I would say it was in between
Mhm.
because I'm I feel like the online experience is not for me. I am the type of person that I need to be in the classroom, I need to be in front of the professor taking notes. And I felt like having to take online, it was kind of hard because it was more hard contacting your professor. It was hard to be motivated, if I'm being completely honest, because I was the comfort of my own bed and my own home, so it was kind of hard to focus. There were so many things going on around me, especially like I said, I have a loud house, so it's completely different being in a classroom where there's no distractions. It's just you, your classmates, and the professor, compared to you're in your own bed. You have your pets, your mom and your dad are arguing or just talking loudly about something. It's really hard to focus. I will say my academics stayed the same, within the same range. I just feel like it was more on a personal level that I had to adapt to the way that I would study, the way that I would learn and take notes and just pay attention. I had to really block out everybody. If, like, as bad as that sounds, I had to block out my family. I had to just, I became selfish for a little bit, at least for that semester, those semesters, because I knew that if I didn't focus, I was going to suffer academically. And academics to me it's very important. It's super, super sacred to me, and it's something I care about immensely. And I had to adapt. I feel like that's the best way that I could describe my academics. Obviously I preferred face to face, but it was just something that I had to deal with because I didn't know when this was going to end. So I said, you know what? It's okay. Um, I feel like as humans, we're very smart people, and we could learn quickly. So it was just a matter of fact of focusing and really thinking about my future, and doing everything that I could to, you know, grasp the material. So yeah.
Uh, did you think that your school quickly accommodated all the students that have to like move from face to face to online? Do you think that your school did a good job at accommodating the students from that change and that change?
I think they did, and I do applaud them for that, and also the professors. I believe that the professors were more understanding because they knew, you know, people were getting sick left and right, and I know that it was something new for them as well, having to adapt to teaching kids online. And I remember it's weird because back then we used to take exams on actual paper, and I know that that's what professors were so used to. So having to change to everything online, a lot of my professors were older and they had never really been familiar with using the internet. So it was really hard for them as well. And a lot of us students would have to guide them because they didn't know, they were adapting, they were still learning as well. So I feel like we all had to adapt to this new situation, but I do feel like they did make a lot of accommodations for us, and they were truly understanding. You know, if you couldn't make it to a virtual session, or you you couldn't make a quiz, or if something happened or you got sick, they were there to accommodate to your needs. And I do thank my professors for that, because a lot of the times, sometimes it's hard to be understanding, especially for students who may have been international. They actually, I had a classmate for one of my classes. She was an international student. She was, I believe, from Germany, if I'm not mistaken. She would have to enter her class at 11 at night. We had
Oh,
it at 10 a.m. and she would have to log in at 11 at night because of the time difference. So it was really hard for her to accommodate to it as well. But I feel like the professors were also very understanding of that situation, because sometimes it's things that we can't control. These are students from across the world. You know, people are going back home. Not everybody lives here in Laredo, so I feel like they were very understanding, but it was very crazy. And I did feel for that student, because I could imagine she must have been tired and having to log into a class at 11 at night and keep up with schoolwork. It it must have been hard, but I feel like the professors were still there to guide us through everything. So it was like a teamwork kind of thing. We would help and they would help as well. So um, we weren't alone, and we were guiding each other as it went.
thank you so much for that. I actually had no idea how it would impact international students, and I think it's something that we should talk about. That I had no idea. Thank you. Um, at any moment, did you have doubts about wanting to pursue nursing due to the added stresses felt by healthcare workers in COVID-19 times?
I did. If I'm being completely honest, like I said, I would see the news and I would hear stories from my own father, and it really made me question if I wanted to pursue this, because I asked myself, are you okay with being surrounded by so much death, so much fatalities? Like, it's crazy how so many things escalated. You know, some nurses couldn't even be with their family. Um, they had to stay in isolation because they were in contact with people from COVID. You know, it was hard. People were running out of beds, they were running out of ventilators. I can imagine, I'm not there yet as a nurse, as obviously, but I can't imagine how it must feel as a nurse to know that you can't do anything, that there's nothing in your power that you can do to help. The only thing that you can do is just, I mean, the basics, which is, well, I wouldn't say basics because, it's a really big thing, like, ventilators and stuff like that. But knowing that there's no cure for this disease, it must have been truly, truly heartbreaking knowing that you can't do anything about it. And I really questioned if I wanted to do this because I I want to help people. I want to save lives. And knowing that I couldn't do that, or I couldn't, like, if I couldn't help them, I feel like I wouldn't be able to, enjoy what I'm doing. But then again, I thought about it and I'm like, no, I feel like as a nurse, you also have to be there emotionally for your patients, the family. Sometimes they're going through a lot and they don't want to say anything. They just need somebody to be there for them. And I feel like I wouldn't want to give up on anybody, you know? I would want to fight until I couldn't fight no more, fight until the very end, fight for them, fight for everybody, if I'm being completely honest. I hope I'm making sense.
No, yes, definitely.
But I really did question it. I'm not going to lie, but a big part of me told me no. Um, these people need nurses. They need all the help, and I want to be the one to give it to them. I want to be able to be there for them. I want to be able to give the best care that I can. And I feel like I feel like it was a very, very tough situation for the nurses that were actually there experiencing it. So I applaud them for it because truly they are heroes. They're amazing.
Yes. I mean, they honestly, I think it's amazing how dedicated you are to this because you are going there, you're going into nursing knowing that this situation is not easy, and even you could possibly be someone to be and you could possibly be another nurse facing these situations and these difficulties, and it's amazing that you still want to continue it because you want to do this and you want to help people, and I think that's beautiful and amazing. So that's awesome. Speaking of your nursing program, was did have they done anything to help like with learning about COVID, especially since it's now something so big within the nursing community?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like me being a first semester nursing student, we are learning the basics. And we do go to hospitals and we do our clinicals. So we do get trained on how to handle patients with COVID, how to take the right precautions to make sure that we are safe when we are dealing with these patients. And I feel like the nursing program that I am in has really helped us and has educated us to the extent. So it's embedded in our brains for sure. I feel like they're doing an amazing job in teaching and helping us, like I said, helping us understand for when we are in those situations, because you really never know what situation you're going to be into. But having the proper knowledge, you go in knowing, okay, I know what to do, I can handle this situation. So I'm educated, I'm knowledgeable on this. So I feel like they do a really great job in helping us prevent and teach us on how to handle COVID-19.
Honestly, I think that's amazing. I mean, they're preparing you for this, and they're taking so many steps to help you understand what it's gonna be like being a nurse, especially during these times, and that's honestly amazing. Is that one of the things that you think is the best thing from coming back from online learning? Because you wouldn't get the same experience on online learning that you do get now.
Yeah, honestly, it is something that I really enjoy doing. I have always dreamed of being in the position that I am in, and knowing that finally I'm a very hands-on person, and knowing that I can finally work with my hands, work with real patients, and be there for them, and be able to care for these people to my best ability. It's all so exciting to me. We have these things called simulations that we do frequently in the nursing program, and it's basically scenarios that they give you as if you have a real patient and you are in groups and each of you has a role that you take, and you go in and you take care of the patient. Like, you have to know what you're doing, what they have, assist them. And it's just, I love being hands-on. I love working with my hands. I love all of that. So it was something super exciting, because I know that if I was online, it wouldn't be the same experience at all. So I'm super grateful that I am able to work in the actual hospital setting. It's super exciting for me.
That sounds amazing. I mean, you're getting all that experience now, and that's awesome. You're getting prepared now. That's
Yeah.
honestly amazing. Um, on that note, I would like to move on to friendships and social media practices, if you would like.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Um, Friendships and interactions are very important to you. How did you feel about having to distance yourself from your friends?
It felt bad, if I'm being honest, because I was also the type of person that wouldn't have that many friends in high school. I was very shy, kept to my own circle, which was very small, about maybe 3 people. And that's something that I really did want to change coming to college as well. I wanted to be more social and I wanted to make new friends. And I did, for the most part. I made a lot of new friends, not only in my classes, but just my peers, like around me on campus that I would see. And it was really hard having to leave, because I feel like I was getting to know new people and I was finally getting out of my little shell, my little bubble. And I just feel like the people that I met, we had made really good connections, close bonds. And the fact that I had to go back home was a bummer, but we did keep in contact still. It was just not the same, because I was used to seeing these people in person, you know?
Yeah,
But other than that, I still feel like thanks to technology, we still kept a good connection and we're still friends to this day.
yeah. I mean, with technology, you can at least you stay friends with them, and that's awesome, especially during a time where everyone was going through a lot. And I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. Um, at the beginning of the pandemic, did you feel like going home was like a little bit of a break um, from like being on school campus? And at some point, did you want to go back? Like, you just think, okay, I had enough of being home. I want to go back.
Yeah, no, definitely. In the beginning, I was like, hey, like 2 weeks of spring break, or then when we had to go home, I was like, you know what, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe it's a little break, like I can chill for a little bit. But honestly, no, it wasn't, because I had to do way more than if I was face to face in person. I had to commit way, way more to my academics. So it was not the same. Like, I thought it was going to be an amazing break and I was going to be super relaxed. But no, it was harder. It was truly, no, I had to work extra hard for my academics.
It was not what you expected at all.
It was not.
How did social media help you keep in contact with your friends?
Well, I feel like FaceTime was a big part of it. I feel like it's something where, you're here, you're not here, but, I can see you. It still kind of works out. It feels like we're still hanging out. So I feel like just being able to be on social media and text from time to time, or even just see their Instagram posts. It's like, oh, like they're doing amazing. So I feel like social media, um it did give me that sense of like, because I worry a lot for my friends. That's something about me. I worry about their health, their well-being, but seeing them, you know, post and being happy back home with their family, because a lot of them aren't from here as well, and seeing them back in their hometown, you know, it made me feel happy for them. And you know, it was just a very, I feel like social media in that way helped me feel like we were still connected.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's one of the best ways to feel like that you're still connected to someone, to still be talk to them and be with them in a sense. Um, what? Sorry. How did the use of social media? Oh, sorry. Do you find yourself using different social media apps, or some more than others? Like, which one you say would you use more?
I actually had taken a break for a little while
Mhm.
because I felt like, in a way, social media was getting kind of crazy, because, you know, every time you would go in social media, you would just see something bad, something new, some like about COVID, about the pandemic and how it's affecting people. So I took a break, and I guess you could say the main one that I stayed in contact with was, I don't even know if it counts. Like I said, FaceTime. I don't know if that counts, but that's literally the only thing I would use. Besides that, I would just be on Netflix, and you know, I would be just watching shows and trying to distract my mind from everything that's going on in the world. But other than that, I think for the most part I took a little break and I didn't really use social media as much. Um, but After I went back, that's when, you know, I feel like I would use probably Snapchat, because I feel like that's where I would be able to also talk to my friends as well. We would like snap back and forth, and hey, like I'm eating this, or hey, I'm here. So it was kind of like I was there but not there with them, you know?
Yeah,
Just keeping,
definitely.
yeah.
Sorry. Would you like to continue? Sorry.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Um, Speaking of trying to distract yourself, were there any new hobbies you picked up, or any old ones that you just didn't have time for now, especially during this time?
Old hobbies. Actually, I started writing.
Oh,
I kept a journal. It was my old diary from when I was in middle school that I never really wrote on. And I feel like my mind was just consumed with so many thoughts that I couldn't really express to anybody. So I would just, you know, anything I was feeling, I would write it down on a piece of paper. I mean, not a piece of paper, but on
fair
my
enough.
journal. And I would just, it was like my own personal rant. I would just write every single thing that I was feeling, even if it didn't make no sense, but it made sense to me. And that was something that I used to do when I was smaller, when I didn't really understand a lot of things, or when I didn't understand my feelings, I would just write. And also, I started singing as well. Um, Singing was something that I did when I was a kid a lot. I wanted to be a rock star, but I stopped because, you know, it was just like a silly little thing that I would do. But I actually started singing more. Singing actually brings me peace. And I feel like at the time that's all I really needed within myself, because like I said, my mind was being flooded with all these thoughts, and I just feel like I needed a little bit of peace. So I would just put on some music and I would just sing along, or sometimes I would even write my own music. And yeah, those are two hobbies that I feel like I got more in touch with since my childhood.
That's amazing. I mean, there's such great ways to help yourself feel better, and feel more calm, especially during the time where anxiety was probably at an all-time high for you, and
Yeah.
it's happening. So I would like to move on to some of my final questions. That would be okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Do you feel satisfied with the local response to COVID-19 in Laredo over these last 2 years?
No.
No.
I don't feel satisfied yet.
Mhm.
because I feel like a lot of people in the public do not take precautions as they should. I feel like right now in present time, a lot of people believe that COVID is gone and that it's not here anymore, even though it's still very much here. You know, there's variants popping out left and right. And, you know, I just see people in public not wearing their masks. Um, they're not being hygienic by using hand sanitizer. They're not social distancing. And I feel like because of that, if I'm being completely honest, I don't know when we will get out of this pandemic, because a lot of people believe that, oh, since there's like a little pause and there hasn't been many cases, that COVID is gone. But that's not the case. And as have we have seen in the past, there has been many spikes. You know, it stops for a little bit, but then the cases come back up again. And I personally see it more here in Laredo, that a lot of people are not being precautious and they are not being safe. And I'm not satisfied with that, because I feel like it is a very real thing. You should be precautious. COVID is not gone. Um, there should be no yes, you can have gatherings, but I still believe there shouldn't be parties, like big gatherings going on. If there's no precautions, there's no social distancing, there's no face masks being placed. Um, so I just do not feel satisfied, at least here from what I have seen personally. I do not feel satisfied because I feel like there's more precautions that can be taken. It's just, you know, people are not taking it.
Thank you so much. I think that's an amazing response. Thank you. Are you satisfied with the state response to COVID-19 led by Governor Abbott over the last couple of years?
You know, I'm not really into politics much,
Okay.
but I do not agree
Mhm.
with Governor Abbott. I
Mhm.
do not agree that he, what's it called, took off the mask mandate. I do not believe that's correct, because I do believe, you know, I do agree with the whole fact of, you know, you have your own choice, you're your own person, but this is a pandemic. And we have to be realistic with ourselves and how to be precautious and safe. And because of that, I feel like that has influenced a lot of minds of people of not wearing face masks, not social distancing, not being hygienic. And because of that, I do feel like it influences being stuck in this pandemic, because a lot of the mentality of people is, oh, you know, I'm not sick, it's not going to hit me, it's not going to happen to me, I don't care, you know. And I believe if you feel that way, stay at home, stay at home, you know. I don't agree. I don't agree at all, and I do not like that the mask mandate was lifted, because I believe that um we still need to implement that, because like I said, COVID-19 is still very much here. And because of that, and because of the mentality of people who do not want to cooperate with it, this pandemic could go on for years. We've already been 2 years in it. um, but when is it really going to end,
Mhm.
unless people cooperate, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. Um, One second. How do you feel about the national response to COVID-19 led by President Trump in the year 2020 and then President Biden from 2021 to present day?
I rather not answer that, just because, like I said, I'm not really into politics. I don't really like to get political. Um, I just do not feel comfortable with answering that at the moment, if that's okay.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Thank you. Um, what impact or purpose do you hope your story may have on listeners on the Voices of a Pandemic digital archives?
I hope that people can just look back at this one day and realize that no matter what they're facing or going through, or what's going on in the world, that there is a brighter side at the end of the day. There is a rainbow at the end of the tunnel, because I feel like that's life. You go through hardships, and you just begin to question everything, question life, question your existence. Maybe, if I'm being completely honest, you start to wonder, why am I here? What is my purpose? And I just hope that people can realize that they all have a purpose. Everybody has a purpose in this life. There's going to be bumps in the road, but you can always hop over them and better yourself. And I believe that trusting in yourself and having faith is a big thing. I believe that faith and trusting in yourself is a big part of getting over these hardships. And especially now, still being in a pandemic, um, I really hope that people take into consideration themselves, others, their safety, because at the end of the day, we need you. Basically, we need you, and you matter. You can make a difference in this world, whether you're from a small town, you're from a big city, you're known or you're not. Everybody has the ability to be somebody, and everybody was um, brought into this world with a purpose. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but it is there, and you are important. You matter. Your voice matters. Your opinions matter. Do not ever feel like you don't matter, like you can't make a difference, because I can assure you that you could probably make somebody's day and you probably wouldn't even know it. So I hope that my words can inspire somebody to be the better version of themselves and to not give up. Because if I'm being honest, I wanted to give up so many times. And sometimes it gets hard. Life still gets hard. And I still question whether I'm going anywhere in my future, whether I'm going to impact someone's life. And personally, for nursing, if I'm going to even be able to save somebody's life. But just because you hit bumps in the road and you may go through hardships and you may fall behind doesn't mean that you will not get to where you want to be. Your story is just different from other people, but that's what makes it so unique. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you important. It's what makes you you. So just don't give up, have faith, and trust yourself, because at the end of the day, there will always be light at the end of the tunnel. And like my mom always tells me, after a storm, there comes a rainbow. So I hope that if I can inspire one person or many, it would give me give me purpose, and it would make me extremely happy. And I hope that these short words inspire you to be you and go explore and have fun and enjoy life, because it is way too short not to enjoy it. It could be gone in a second. So just be yourself, be you, be courageous, be bold, be brave, be yourself. And that's all I got to say.
I think that was such a beautiful message, and I think there's so much truth to what you say, and that was honestly was beautiful. Thank you so much, and I think that you will be able to inspire so many people with your story, because it does mean a lot to us. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
your experience with us.
Thank you.
Before I finish this, is there anything else you would like to share with us? Something I didn't talk about? Anything?
I think that's it for now. Just keep being awesome, keep being awesome.
Likewise. Thank you. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us at the Voices Pandemic Oral History projects. Thank you for taking your time, since I know that you do have so much going on. So thank you so much, and thank you for such lovely words, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.